Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Everyone see me okay? Well, welcome to the online launch of CAFA in Australia. I'm Ali Heppenstall. I'm founder and chief executive of Climate Action for Associations. We have a lot to share in the next hour and some great speakers, including Craig Brock, who is Director of Policy and Public Affairs at CORD Australia. Tennant Reid, Director of Climate Change and Energy at the Australian Industry Group. James McKean is the Sustainable Logistics Policy Advisor at Net Zero and Net Zero Coordinator at the British International Freight Association, or BIFA for short. Mary Ntamark is currently the Technical Advisor for Environmental Sustainability at the International Marine Contractors Association. And I'm really happy to be joined by our brand new colleagues in Australia, Gail and Helen Millisa, who are our boots on the ground. So I'm really excited to be here today to be talking about our work in Australia. Put any questions that you have in the Q&A function in the chat. We'll obviously try and get to them later in the group discussion if we can. But if not, we'll follow up with answers in our follow-up to today's webinar. I believe we also might be live streaming on LinkedIn as well. So we'll be looking for comments and questions on that channel also, if that's working properly. But let's start with a bit of an overview about us. So CAFA, we are the resource and network dedicated to net zero and sustainability for the membership sector. Our mission is to speed up industry and business transition by working with membership organisations first and directly to help them do two things: to help them lead by example, put the right things in place internally, including policies, advocacy, and reducing our own emissions, as well as helping their members, crucially, speed up industry and climate action. So what do we do and how do we do it? So we provide the information, guidance and learning and a peer-to-peer network that membership organisations need to speed up action, both internally and with members. So with business and industry having the biggest impact on the climate, and the fact that the science is clear that the devastation relating to climate change is going to be one of, if not the biggest disruptor to business and industry, membership bodies have an enormous role to play, a unique role. You're in a unique position to be able to accelerate change. So many organisations don't have the experience or the capability or the know-how to do this. So that's where we come in. So CAFA were established in 2020. We're a non-profit organisation with a unique blend of sustainability and membership professionals working together, working with membership organisations to speed up change. We're an accelerator for the UN Race to Zero. We're a partner of the Science Based Target Initiative. We're an observer of the COP process. We've been involved in the last 5 COPs. We're a UK headquartered international NGO, and officially from today, this is very exciting, we have boots on the ground in Australia and a strong international team. Thanks to the work that ClimateWise Associations have done over the last few years, we're building on the success of the work of Gail and Helen, and we are now, ClimateWise Associations is now part of CAFA. So we're super excited and really happy that you're joining us today. Our membership, we're like a membership body in our own right, and our membership is free and open to any membership organisation who is committed to and needs the support to accelerate climate action internally and with their members. So, G, over to you. GM is our Senior Impact and Engagement Lead at CAFA, and he's going to share a little bit more about our membership and what we do.
Yeah, sounds good. I actually have a couple slides that I'll put up. Let's see. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect. So I guess the best way to talk about CAFA is probably to talk about CAFA members. At the moment, we are 100 members strong. The 100th member just joined a few days ago, which was really good. And in terms of representation, that represents about 350 plus membership organizations. Somewhere above 500,000 businesses and 6 million professionals. So CAFA Collective, so it's essentially a collective of climate-aligned and committed membership organizations that are really eager to support their members with sustainability. This collective spans a wide variety of sectors and kinds of organizations. So you have many examples on screen. So we have membership organizations that are in the manufacturing sector. We have representation of retailers, healthcare, cement, metals, and in terms of professions, it's also very varied. So on screen, we can see internal communication, also GPs, accounting, and more. So we're sector agnostic. The only common thread between all those membership organizations is the fact that they are membership organizations. And we support all kinds. So yeah, professional bodies, trade associations, institute, colleges, societies, etc. Because of the role that Ali has mentioned in terms of what membership organizations can do for climate and sustainability, and the fact that they are positioned in an ideal place for climate leadership, which is at the interface between professionals and the work industry and policymaking. But membership organizations face similar challenges. Those challenges can include low bandwidth. Sometimes there aren't dedicated team members that are that have the skills to tackle sustainability or to support their members with sustainability. And addressing sustainability, whether it's reporting or reducing emissions or footprints more generally, is quite hard. There's a lot of new regulations coming in. There's a lot of environmental risks to prepare for. There's new skills to learn and implement. So this is why CAFA has the set of resources that it has. So the way we work with membership organizations, first of all, as I think Ali mentioned earlier, membership is free, so we want to remove all barriers to climate action within the membership sector. And we are big proponents of peer-to-peer learning. So we have member meetups, for instance, also drop-in clinics to answer technical questions with the goal of sharing best practice between membership organizations, sharing best practice, but also sometimes sharing challenges and working together on how to support and how to make progress. Also have quarterly touchpoint calls at the moment with myself as engagement and impact leads, during which we work through current sustainability challenges and priorities with your membership or policy relationships. We also have quite a lot of resources on standards, legislation, guidance on net zero, policy templates, etc. So try to cover a breadth of solutions to support your members, essentially. I should mention that we also have a stream of work that is in development with a first pilot in the UK, and that should be expanded to Australia early 2026, which is our policy engagement work stream to centralize and streamline essentially policy engagement on sustainability issues that are cross-sector. So that'll be all from me for now, but please feel free to share your questions in the chat. Ali, jump in at any point if there's anything really important that I missed in terms of membership. But for now, I'll hand over to Helen to talk about a bit more about the launch in Australia.
Thank you so much, Guillaume, and hello. Thank you so much, Ali. I'm delighted to be here today. In fact, Gail and I are absolutely ecstatic about being here today. It's been a 5-year vision that has come to fruition. We're also so thrilled to have so many associations on the call and many who registered to attend. When we looked at the RSVP last night, we had 30 associations. We had people from government, NGOs, consulting businesses, and advocates and campaigners. And what was really clear was the diversity of people who are interested in this issue. Some are executives in an association, some of them are program leads, and some are board directors. They're all decision makers and influencers, and we thank you so much for joining. What was also interesting was the fact that so many are national, some are Australasian, like Accord, and some are state-based. And the memberships range from 50 businesses through to 450,000, being the Nurses and Midwifery Association of Australia. So we were bowled over. We have Engineers Australia, we have accountants, we have lawyers, we have people from all kinds of walks of life. And what is astonishing is that they all want to know and lead the way forward, and we're delighted about that. If I may say, I want to give a special shout out to Gail. We started the idea of ClimateWise Associations in the cinders of the 2019 the summer bushfires. Our objective was to help Australia avoid the horrors of climate change, to be prepared and to cut its emissions, because it's such a high emissions economy. And we knew that one of the most effective ways to change our system was through member-based associations. Both Gail and I have worked in, and I've been on boards of associations, and we know that associations and institutes, member-based organisations, are trusted by their members. They have extraordinary reach, and yet, as Ali and Guillaume have said, they're insufficiently resourced. They are stretched to the bone, and they need an organisation like ClimateWise Associations to get off the ground. And we've been very pleased to be able to help a number of you make headway going forward. So we created ClimateWise Associations, Gail and I have to also say to Gail, it's been one of the most productive and positive working relationships of my life, and it's been a great honour to work with you, Gail. We have enjoyed many conversations with people on the call, from Craig to Tennant and others, and you have all had input into the design of this organisation. So it's been an astonishing, wonderful thing for us that Gail and I's ambition was to actually find a respected, aligned partner that would take ClimateWise to grow it for impact and uptake. And we've found that, and we've signed an agreement with Ali and CAFA. Australian associations, as you probably know, face almost the same kind of issues as in the UK and other jurisdictions to cut emissions and to be ready for the impacts of climate. What we struggle with is that for the last 3 decades, the politics of this issue have confused leaders in associations on the urgency, the costs and the benefits to take action. So associations have been held back to some extent, and that noise still occupies the dialogue here in this country. But Gail and I are convinced and confident that with the support of CAFA, Australian associations can take up the leadership position they deserve to have through the practice, the community of practice, the advisory services and the case studies. Because we know that, like you on the call, you want to be competent leaders for their members. You want to have the knowledge and the agency to support your members and to lead your associations into the future. So with that in mind, I'm not sure that I've got anything much more to say, except that it's been a great delight to take leadership on this for Australia's benefit and for public purpose, and to introduce Tennant now. I've known Tennant, I think, for over a decade, Tennant, getting close to 20 years, when I was the National Sustainability Manager at Pacia. And Tennant is one of the most well-informed, erudite, how can I say it, charming policy directors on climate and emissions in this country. He's been at the Australian Industry Group since 2008, I think, which is when we met, which is one of Australia's largest, most influential associations and well informed on climate. So it's delightful to have you, Tennant, with your input to our journey and to say a few words. And I don't know, shall I introduce Craig at the same time, Ali, or not? Perhaps, Tennant, if you want to lead off, and I can introduce Craig after you finish, or Ali can do so. Thank you.
Sure thing. And thanks so much, Helen. It's been really great seeing this initiative evolve over the last few years, and to join with CAFA. So yes, I am Director of Climate Change and Energy at the Australian Industry Group. Australian Industry Group's members are businesses of all different sizes, from the extremely small to massive multinationals, and they're in many different sectors, from manufacturing at the very energy intensive end of steel, aluminium, cement, basic chemicals, to moderately energy intensive and emissions intensive businesses in food processing, to very low emissions intensity businesses. And we have members in services, in construction, in defence, doing a lot of things. And so their needs and levels of capability around climate are as diverse as they are in everything else. And while we're a large organisation, and I am all climate and energy all the time, and many organisations can't have a person in that kind of role, we're overwhelmed too when it comes to the sheer breadth of the issues to be dealt with in this space, and the depth of needs that members have. And so it's always seemed like a great idea to provide greater support and upskilling to associations. Because if, like, one of the three largest industry associations in Australia doesn't feel from day to day like they're on top of this complex of issues, what chance does anybody else have? Everybody needs some help. Some of the things that are most on our members' minds in this space at the moment, of course, climate-related financial disclosure is a driver of greater engagement, new kinds of capability and understanding needing to be built up within businesses and among those who help those businesses, whether it is in the advisory, the commercial advisory community, or in the associations community. More and more businesses will be meeting their obligations under that disclosure arrangement over the next few years, and that's going to involve grappling with concepts that are old hat to some, but very new to many businesses, understanding not just what are their scope 1 or 2 emissions, scope 3, a little bit more work, but how to think about climate scenarios, how to map from a climate scenario to the implications that are financially material for their business, for their markets, and starting to think much more closely about the physical impacts of climate change, which have tended to be most on the radar only for those very large infrastructure or resources businesses designing ports or other major structures for higher sea levels. For everybody else, there tends to be a lot they don't yet know and are going to have to find out, including for climate disclosure reasons, but really just for business continuity reasons, about the particular mix of temperature, precipitation, sea level, and other impacts, both on them and the infrastructure and the supply chains that are essential to their business. So there's a lot there, and an awful lot of upskilling to take place over the next few years. But that's not all. I think that the rapid change in Australia's electricity markets and how businesses engage with them, being more active participants in those markets, but also the system transformation starting to make, some would say, I would say, the individual crediting arrangements for use of renewable energy start to be less important than that more active relationship with the financial side of the electricity system to get the best deal and make the best contribution to that market as it heads towards something like 95 to 99% renewables over the next couple of decades. That's a skill set not a lot of businesses have yet, and they're going to need help to think about how they get there. But I might stop there.
Thanks, Tennant. Really, exactly. I think one of the things that always astounds me is that people don't quite appreciate that associations not only provide feedback to governments in responding to policy, but associations provide a lot of advice to their members. And you've just outlined exactly that. So you're a phone advisory service, you run seminars, you have conferences, associations, quite a number of them deliver training. Some of them have standards or performance criteria for activities. And so not having climate thinking in that, or being able to provide that advisory services and integrating emissions reduction into future training or so on, is really difficult for associations. They're setting up their members to be, well, we don't want them to fail, so we want them to succeed. Shall I introduce Craig, Alison, or do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You introduced Craig, but I just wanted to pick up on that point in that what we've seen in the UK and in quite a number of European bodies as well is exactly that. We've seen them go from entire overwhelmment, and let's not pretend that everyone's got it right, to actually slowly year by year transitioning and getting a hold of what they need to do in order to support their members in this area. It's not perfect. It's perfect storm. But where CAFA has been really strong in the last few years is actually working with those associations to help them have an integrated strategy. So we have a really strong best practice framework that we work with associations to get them to put the right things in place, whether that's member engagement from a skills, from a policy and an advocacy perspective, or developing and delivering resources that will support their members, as well as practicing what they preach as well. As really important, leading by example. So I just wanted to jump in there, Helen, because we see that it's hard, it's complex, it's very overwhelming, but there is support through us, and other networks obviously as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, just so it's very clear.
It's a journey. It's a journey. We're all on the journey together, and so having communities of practice and people collaborating and learning together is so powerful. We have to get there eventually. So Craig Brock, I've known Craig not quite as long as I've known Tennant, but Craig and Accord Australasia, which covers Australia and New Zealand as well, have actually used the CAFA, the ClimateWise, I've already transitioned, have used the ClimateWise material in their policies, in their meetings with their members, and Craig is the policy and has a broader role than Tennant. So where Tennant can focus, Craig has a far broader remit, being a slightly smaller association, and he has covered, worked in government and industry, private sector. He's been a policy advisor to ministers as well. His qualifications are in science and environmental studies, and he works as the Director of Policy and Public Affairs. So, Craig, over to you, and thank you for your time today on the call.
Okay. Thank you very much, Helen, for that very kind introduction. I'll just give a little bit of background to our organisation. I don't know whether I'm coming up on the screen at the moment. Am I on screen? Yes, good. Okay.
Yep, all good.
We're the Australian industry body for hygiene, personal care and specialty products, and we represent 100 innovative companies ranging from large multinationals through to smaller family-owned companies, Australian-based companies as well. We have, fortunately though, we're part of a large international network of similar associations, and we do have UK counterpart associations such as the UK Cleaning Products Industry Association and the Cosmetic, Toiletry and Perfumery Association of the UK. Interestingly enough, I looked at the CAFA website and noted that one of those is actually a member of CAFA, that's CTPA, and that's a really good sign for us because CAFA's new to us, but ClimateWise Associations isn't. It was my pleasure several years ago to have been asked by Helen and Gail to get involved with what ClimateWise Associations were doing and also to support their initiative. And our interest had been very much sparked by a survey that we did of our members just to check in on them and see how what they were thinking about climate and what they thought they needed to do in terms of actions and their overall attitudes to the climate change challenge, particularly with net zero coming forward as well. Interestingly enough, that survey revealed that nearly 90% of members of our organisation felt that climate change posed risks to their operations. So there's clearly an operational imperative that they needed to get involved with. One of the key things, though, that we revealed from our survey was that member businesses were facing a number of barriers that were holding them back from doing anything in this particular area. Interestingly enough, 37% said they lacked internal expertise. We also had barriers identified as financial constraints, where 33% said their finances were not in a position to actually do much about climate change. And probably more disturbingly, that they were basically just time poor, with 32% of our members saying they were too time poor to really address what was a major challenge potentially facing them into the future. And they were very much, of course, caught up with the day-to-day management that businesses have to deal with. And that impacts particularly with the small to medium enterprise end of our membership, who were very much showing that they were facing these particular barriers. I'd have to say that somewhat ironically, our association itself, though, faced the identical barriers. We have limited resources, as has already been pointed out. Even an organisation as large as Tenants, in terms of the association world, can't get across a lot of these things. So a small association like Accord with just 8 professional staff has difficulties getting on top of this as well. Put simply, we don't have the time and bandwidth to deal with a particular issue. So that's why we very much were encouraged when Helen and Gail put forward the idea of ClimateWise Associations Australia, and we got behind that. So what we're really interested now is to find out more about this next phase. It seems like an exciting new phase, and just how CAFA will now work with what was set up as the platform by Helen and Gail, and what that might mean for CAFA's involvement in the Australian market into the future. I don't have much more to add apart from just what I've just said, but I'm looking forward to hearing more about how this will work into the future. It's a great initiative, so thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of it.
Thanks, Craig. And just to your point, there are so many associations in CAFA's network that have less than 10 staff. And exactly that, we're taking the pain away and supporting them, like hand-holding them through many different processes. So we're really excited to have the opportunity to work with large and small membership organisations across all sorts of different sectors and industries in Australia. So super excited. I'm conscious of time. Is it okay if we flip straight to our next, I guess, speaker? Is that okay? Jamie, I'm just checking with Jamie. Is Jamie next, isn't it? Jamie is Sustainable Logistics Policy Advisor at and Net Zero Coordinator at the British International Freight Association.
Yeah, it's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
It is quite a mouthful. I'm also conscious that Jamie, you've got slides to share as well. So I think DM is in the driving seat on that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys, and good morning. Apologies if I sound or look like I've just got out of bed, because that would be the truth. It's quite early back in the UK. It's 6:30 this morning. But yeah, hi, that's me, Sustainable Logistics Policy Advisor and Net Zero Coordinator at the British International Freight Association. If I could have the next slide, please. So what is BIFA? BIFA is the British International Freight Association, formerly the Institute of Freight Forwarders from 1944 to 1988. We are the principal UK trade association for international freight forwarding. I'm not from the industry myself. So when I came into BIFA, I really had no idea what freight forwarding was. But if you don't know, freight forwarders are facilitators, they're problem solvers. They arrange for the movement of goods across borders. And a lot of them also provide customs brokerage services on behalf of importers and exporters. We have a very large membership base. About 90% of all freight forwarders in the UK are members, so we've got a huge market share. And we have over 1,600 members. And these range hugely, like some of the previous speakers said, those from large listed companies that you probably will know, like DHL, to, micro businesses, to people, 1 or 2 people in an office. And around 78 to 80% of BIFA members are SMEs. And I see this as a really strategic focus for us, because some of these large companies have, dedicated departments for sustainability. They have resource, they have finance, whilst the SMEs, they're just focused on the operational day to day, right? They're not thinking we need a sustainability. A subset of marketing is sustainability. So this is where I think we can provide a lot of benefit by working with organizations such as CAFA. We've been a CAFA member since August 2025. I met the team at London Action Climate Week, which was in June, I believe. And I knew immediately upon meeting Ali and the team that I wanted to work with CAFA. Just for a number of reasons, really. First of all, I've given you 3 Ps. This is like sort of a marketing. Yeah. So first of all, the passion. Attending London Action Climate Week, there was such passion and energy in the room from everybody involved in the CAFA team, and also its members. It's very infectious, and there's just, obviously in this space you tend to find passionate people, but the passion is so obvious. Secondly, is perception. There's such and such expertise. If you've met the team, particularly people like Crispin, who does a lot of the technical stuff, they really provide such value for members. They know so much about the greenhouse gas protocol and all the different categories. It's just that, all the scope 3s, which is just, complete. For some of our members, it just to get their head around that is so difficult. So they really provide clarity on that. And they're pragmatic. They're business focused. We're talking about the business case for sustainability. My members work with very low margins. They're not going to do this unless there's a compelling business case for it. So that's the 3 Ps for you that I found. So yeah, next slide, please. So why?
Sorry, Tony, I'm going to steal that and put it in my deck. Right with you.
Yeah, absolutely fine. No copyright issues there. So why is freight and decarbonisation? Why is it an important sector? Well, 8 to 11% of global greenhouse gas emissions are attributed to freight. I think the 11% is including warehouse activity, whilst 8% is purely freight. In 2024, BIFA ran a survey with Pledge.io, which is now part of Blue Yonder, entitled State of Sustainability and Freight Forwarding, basically asking them, looking at the industry and where are you? So if you can see the slide, I've got a graphic there. So 53% said they had a sustainability policy in place, 47% said no, so that's a big proportion. And very importantly, we asked whether customers are asking for emission reports on their shipments, which forms part of their scope 3 emissions. And 60% said yes, because there's this regulatory cascade. So things like the CS Europe, these big companies are asking for the emission reports on shipments, which means our members are getting these requests like, what do we do? What even is this? So there's a huge, even though there's not much regulation for the small businesses at the moment, there's this regulatory cascade from the larger businesses, which is affecting our members. So it's become an important aspect of their business. Also, I'm getting mentioned from my members that they're being increasingly asked for their sustainability credentials when winning new business, so forming part of their tender process or retaining existing customers. I've just judged our awards, so we have a sustainability awards which is in January, and I've had 11 entries, really fantastic people doing fantastic stuff in this space. You know, forming fleets of fully electric trucks, and I always get pushed back about electric trucks, and there's no business case for it. I'm like, well, this person showed that there is a business case for it. Electric ships, solar panels in warehouses, all sort carbon literacy courses being created, all sorts of initiatives from our members. It's really exciting. BIFA members are a key link between the shippers and the carriers, and they've got a lot of expertise. They can advise on different modal options. So, for example, air freight is the most polluting freight method, but if they could get their members to send their freight on a boat, on a ship, or by rail, or to remove or to substitute road and rail, or to mix the two, so multimodal options, that can really reduce carbon emissions for their customer. They also have great knowledge, and they can optimize routes to improve the efficiency, which actually cuts costs as well, so that business case again. And they can also help report greenhouse gas emissions to ensure compliance. So they're an important part of industry, and a really sort of a midpoint. They're like the intermediaries, so a really important point. Next slide, please. Yeah, so one of the main ways that we interact with our members is through our policy group. This is a picture taken at our last one. There's also an Australian here. So David Keybon, who's a professor of mechanical engineering at Cambridge University, presented. He was fantastic and probably the smartest person I've ever met. So yeah, we hold it in London 4 times a year, so every quarter. Next slide, please. Where I've got a couple of minutes left. Yes, so we do a number of things at this policy group. We promote the interests of our BIFA members, including talking about relevant legislation. What we do is we provide a forum for discussion, education, and then creation of shared resources, which we can then disseminate to the wider membership. We also are using this as a starting place for governmental lobbying. In the last year or so, we've also created a bunch of online training courses about sustainability, and I'm currently in the process of creating a carbon literacy course specific for logistics, which is really exciting. And we also have a YouTube channel. So we have BIFA TV, which we often highlight sustainable issues on. So yes, as I said, current projects, we're rolling out a e-learning course in Q1 next year. And I'm also creating a carbon literacy course at the moment with the carbon literacy project. And we are focusing on political engagement 2026, which is one of my key remits. Next slide, please. Sorry, now I'm running over a little bit. Finally, BIFA and CAFA. As I said, as soon as I met these guys, I knew I wanted to work with them because of the 3 Ps that I mentioned. In addition to helping our members to reach net zero, BIFA is also committed to reaching net zero by 2050. I've used already, I mean, I'm a recent member, I've only been since August, and it's been quite a busy time, but I've already utilized the resources and tools within the member area, which are fantastic. So I've created a low carbon travel policy using the guide from CAFA. I'm also starting to use the Sustainable Events Guide, as BIFA holds hundreds of events every year, which will be really important for us. I've also had a number of really fantastic meetings with the CAFA team, particularly Crispin, about the measurement of Scope 3 emissions, which can be a bit of a minefield, and obviously mostly the largest emissions of companies. So I've talked about purchase goods and services and investments, and they just have a wealth of expertise that I want to lean on and help, and then from our learnings go out to our members and say, this is how you do it. So the future plans for BIFA and CAFA are, well, I want to do loads as much as I can, but ultimately we want to assist our members in their net zero journeys and create tailored resources and content for our members, and just help them as much as we can, because it's so wide, the topics, it's such a big issue. And as I said, many of our members don't have the resource. So partnering with people like CAFA is just a great way of helping our members. And I think that's it. Sorry, I ran over a little bit, but yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie. It was really useful to gain an overview of where the opportunities and also challenges for you as the association to support your members, and understanding what your members need, I guess, is the first step in all of this. And obviously we encourage every association to really deep dive and understand what their members' needs are first, and then obviously put a plan in place to try and respond to them as best as possible. And I'm delighted that you're already using CAFA's resources and tapping into our support and Crispin's sustainability and particularly around the scope 3 emissions, which is particularly strong in that area. Conscious of time, let's jump straight to Mary, because we've got 18 minutes left if we're going to finish on the mark, and still probably quite a lot to cover. Hey, Mary.
Hey, hello, good morning, everyone, and it's great to meet all of you. I hope you're all doing well. So I'm Mary Ntamark. I'm from IMCA. Next slide, please. We are a trade association based in London, global. We have 800 members, 350 plus of these are in Europe. We are represented all across the globe. Next slide, please. We work in committees, and I'll be talking about environment and sustainability today, but we do have other different functions such as diving, marine operations, and ROVs. Next slide, please. We do not do this by ourselves. We have a sustainability committee that will be focusing on today. 2 of our members are sitting in Australia, Gulf and Deep Ocean, so probably you'll be meeting them eventually. Thank you. Next slide. And we have expert working group. We are focused on these 3 topics at the moment, simply because we've gone out and asked our members, what is it that is really biting you? We're looking at life below water and biodiversity, helping our members to use resource efficiently and looking at their supply chain and decarbonizing. So I'll be sharing with you some of the initiatives that we've been undertaking within IMCA. Next slide, please. So within IMCA, like all the trade associations have said, how we go about doing our work, we produce lots of guidance to help our members, because some of them are really resource stretched, even though some of them are quite global and have huge team. We organize lots of events and collaborate. We've been a member of CAFA since this summer. It's been great. We've been active on speaking on various panels and sharing some of the great stuff that our members are doing along ourselves. So I'll share that with you today. Next slide. I think one of the key focuses of the committee is that we started off, it's quite a very young committee within IMCA. Environment and Sustainability has been around for just 5 years. It's the youngest committee and was formed because of the pressing issues around the globe. Our first task was to develop a code of practice, which is on our website. It covers really key important topics that my colleagues have talked about. We're looking at circular economy, decarbonizing our supply chain. Again, how our members can upskill their companies to deal with the climate challenge. We look at life below water and reporting. We support our members a lot with reporting. As you've noticed, about 350 of them are based in Europe, where there's lots of legislation coming out. So we developed this document to help them. Next slide, please. Yeah, quite recently in September, we launched our self-assessment, and this is a tool that helps our members to benchmark. Some of my colleagues have shared some statistics as to where their members are focusing. This is a tool that will be helping us to shape our programs for the coming next 5 years, but also to understand which are the areas that we can help our members to support them on this journey of net zero, decarbonization, and dealing with the climate challenge. So it's available on our website, and it's really a great tool for our members and also external audiences as well. Next slide, please. So these are some of the outputs that we've been working on initiative. Craig mentioned scope 3. So did Jamie. We developed a guidance on scope 3, which is one of the biggest challenges our members have, because the working globally, and it's probably one of the first that we did for offshore contracting. Again, it helps our members on how to go about calculating their emissions, because they are quite global. Next slide, please. We also, next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. We also looked at biofouling and marine invasive species. A lot of our members have ships that go around the world, whether it's doing work offshore, and this is a topic that really affects our members. And so IMCA has been working with our members and the IMO around this topic. Next slide, please. Also, we've been looking at, I mentioned circularity. Circularity is a big issue for our members. We do utilize quite a lot of resource. So we developed this guidance, again, helping our members. How do you get around being circular? And it was a high level guidance on the key steps that members can take to start circularity within their organizations. Next slide, please. And like all the other trade associations have mentioned, our members do face a lot of challenge. I'll just touch on these three, which everybody has talked about: legislative changes. The landscape is quite changing. There's a lot of confusion and direction of where our members should be heading to. So we do advocate within the industry and represent them as well. Knowledge and capacity building is something that MCA does quite a lot in terms of helping our members with training, certification programs, competency building, but also impact. We organize a lot of events and bringing the industry together. So I think that will be it for me today, and I will hand over to Alison.
Thanks, Mary. Gee, that's the quickest I've seen you fly through that. I guess it's really interesting. It's such a complex environment that your members operate in, and obviously we've had this discussion before that the industry is, you know, from a regulation and a policy perspective, it's obviously very challenging for you as a body as well to, you know, pursue your sustainability and your climate goals, whilst also looking at the long-term sustainability of the industry as well in terms of commercial viability and materiality. I guess there's a few questions in the chat that I need to answer, but there's sort of more about CAFA membership and various other things. So I wanted to just have a quick discussion with all of our speakers, sort of reflecting on your own journeys in terms of climate sustainability. What would you, given that there are a number of membership organizations listening in right now, and this recording will be shared, obviously, if you were starting all over again, so there's two questions in this, where would you start if you had to start on your sustainability journey all over again in terms of with your members? And with that also, if you could have a think about what are the greatest challenges facing your membership as well, and how you're addressing those. Craig, can I come to you first?
You can definitely come to me first. Yeah, thanks, Alison. If we were to start it all over again, I think we'd probably still end up pretty much where we are. Within our industry, our big challenges are the amount of regulation that is surrounding our products, because we're talking about formulated products. We're talking about, therefore, products that are a collection of chemicals and the like, and all that type of regulation around the globe is very onerous and also very technical, and requires an industry body to really assist companies that are selling either cosmetics or cleaning products or the like, and in how to deal with that particular amount of regulation, and try to get the regulation right-sized so that it isn't impacting negatively on innovation. So an issue like climate, which is out there as a more general issue, oftentimes doesn't come onto the radar directly with the type of work we're doing. Hence why I mentioned earlier, we were very happy to get involved with what Helen and Gail were doing with ClimateWise Associations, just to have a resource that could assist us on something that probably wasn't our bread and butter work. All associations have bread and butter work, and the people they employ are experts in that. This particular area is specialised, but you generally employ someone who then is going to help you with it. So I think the journey we're on is the journey we would have been on anyway. I don't think there would have been anything else we can do apart from deal with the bread and butter issues that our association members want us to deal with.
Yeah, understood. Great to hear. Mary, what about yourself?
Yeah, if I were to start back again, probably it would probably still be the same journey, but it'll be more on talking with our members. Like I said, we just launched the self-assessment and the survey to really test the atmosphere and see the areas where that keeps them awake at night, what is biting them. So more engagement probably with our members will be what I will probably do better. But in terms of the challenges that are facing our members, decarbonization and the cost of decarbonization is a big issue, alongside what Craig has mentioned on legislative changes within Europe. It's a big challenge. So how we are supporting that our members is advocating, but providing them with the resource that they require. And speaking with associations like yourself, we've been talking with Gil, around our own internal strategy and using the great resources that you have as well. I think that is what I'll do. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Mary Jamie, can I come to you? I've got a slightly different question for Tennant.
Yeah, no problem. So for me, what I start again would be very similar to Mary, is just the engagement with members. Our members can be quite reticent, apart from when there's a problem. That's normally when they contact us. What I'd like to do is have a more data-focused approach to really sort of narrow down what the key issues are. And that's one of my focuses in the next year or so, is to really get that idea of what the main problems are for our members. Greatest challenges for our members. As I said, we operate on low margins. So when it comes to implementation of new technology, things like electric vehicles, which are more expensive as a capital cost, or biofuels and stuff, we need some incentives from the government. We need some grants. We need some clarity over future technology, whether we're using hydrogen, electric, that sort of stuff. And also, we need to stop all this political. I'll use my words carefully. Using net zero as a political weapon, I think, is a problem, because the mainstream media picks up on it, and our members see that and go, "Oh, we don't need to worry about that because they're going to get rid of it in a few years." I think we need to stop using that as well. So we need a bit of courage from politicians, but we'll see what happens.
Bold action taken by businesses, less politicization and misinformation would be helpful. Generally, I think. Tennant, slightly different question. Well, same question for you, but more of a focus on what do you think associations more broadly need in Australia, and as a starting point, acknowledging that many of them will actually just be at the really early stage of their journey in terms of supporting their members and actually just trying to get to grips with, also the government's increased targets, as well as the mandatory reporting, carbon disclosure reporting. What's your sense on that?
So I would say three things. One is to really focus in on what matters. There is an enormous amount of potential work that an association or a business can do in their own context on different aspects of climate. Some of those things will not make a difference materially to the prospects of that sector or business, and some of them will. And you really need to take the time to make sure that you are dealing with the 50% or the 90% issue, and not spending all your time on something that is very marginal. I think the second thing is to, and I wish I had known this 16 years ago, that climate is a long haul and a bit of a roller coaster. It is not a quick linear journey from problem perceived to problem solved. There will be turns of the political wheel. There will be changes in policy. There will be surprises on technology and on market development, and it's a long process of adjusting to that and trying to keep your strategic needs in mind, even while you get a better and better understanding of the world you're dealing with. And then the final thing is to try and have a clearer emphasis from the start now, like there's no time better than now, on building new approaches, new markets, new products, new capacity to seize opportunity, rather than how do I do just what I do today, only in a more convoluted and expensive way. Because so far, the things that have really beaten all expectations in the success of climate transition, and there are important successes as well as challenges, have been where we didn't just tack on a more expensive element to an existing process, but rethought how we supply electricity, how we do transportation. And I think it is in those deeper restructurings of business process, of technology, of markets, that we're going to find success, rather than thinking that it's just the existing approach plus some added cost.
Mm. And where we've seen many membership organisations go from in the last few years in particular is starting to grasp that. So rather than sustainability being a project over here or a work stream, it's actually in terms of how they support and engage their members, both professional bodies, and I've seen a question about that in the chat I'm going to address in a second, and associations. It's more now about resilience, relevance, survival, and integrating support into plans, because the future success and longevity of your members, regardless of industry or sector, is going to be wholly dependent on your largely dependent, big impact on your support to them in this area. It's not a separate work stream. It has to be integrated into strategy and business and member response at all sorts of levels. Thank you so much. I just want to address some of the questions in the chat, if that's okay, before we do final remarks and thank yous. Recording will be made available. We'll distribute it to all those that registered to attend. I think Guillaume's already responded to that. Very exciting. If membership is free, how do you afford to exist? We've been really lucky. So membership used to be paid for. So we've had a few years worth of funding coming through membership, and we took the very bold, ambitious decision to remove our funding model earlier this year, because it was we found the admin and the barrier around the paid for membership model not conducive and not in line with our mission. So we received grants. We've been very fortunate to receive a few grants and funding from other NGOs, including the Science Based Target Initiative and the Climate Group. We also have a range of paid for advisory services and carbon footprinting and training and development work that we do, that we, in addition to our membership model, which is very tailored specifically for different professions and sectors. Because we're a non-profit, all of that income is reinvested in, so we can increase our mission and continue to deliver our work. Obviously, we've got a mission to grow and work with as many associations as possible. We also take donations as well. So if anyone on the call would like to just gift us a membership fee instead of it being mandatory, we're very happy about that as well. Lastly, obviously, every membership organisation on the call today are trade associations representing businesses. It's really important to us that we represent all types of membership organisations, and in CAFA's membership at the moment, we have trade associations, we have royal colleges, we have chartered bodies, we've got institutes, associations, we even have football clubs. We've got Birmingham County Football Associations that represent 4,000 clubs in across the county in the UK. We are agnostic where we see the real benefit, and we have sets of resources for professional bodies as well as trade associations, and where we see the real role for those representing individuals, are where you can support and embed training, development and skills into your professional competency frameworks. Absolutely. And in particular, where your members also have influence with their clients or within the businesses that they operate. Obviously, all around service emissions and influenced emissions, and that's a really big area of focus for us. Fundamentally as well, regardless of professional body or trade association, climate policy and responsible policy engagement is a really important area. So that's a really key work stream at CAFA as well, where we go in deep to support members. Let's look, any more questions? No, I'm aware that we're 1 minute over, so I want to actually just do final comments. is that, first of all, Jamie and Mary, thank you so much for waking up so early and joining the call today. We really appreciate it, and your ongoing commitments and passion in the area of work. Love the 4 Ps, Jamie, and that we'll definitely be using those. And thank you for your continued working with CAFA. Craig and Tennant, it's been amazing to meet you, and thank you so much. And we look forward to onboarding you both as members of CAFA in the not too distant future. But most importantly, to Helen and Gail for creating the foundation of ClimateWise Associations in Australia, and being so open and embracing of CAFA and aligned, obviously without the shared values and alignment in what we're trying to do, and the shared vision and mission around the ambition, which is obviously an extremely bold ambition to work with membership organisations to speed up industry and business transition, to ensure that we're obviously meeting the goals of the Paris Agreement, but obviously making a better planet and society and future for all, which is completely aligned with science. And it's a heart for us, and we're really excited to be now have boots on the ground in Australia, and that ClimateWise Associations is now formally Climate Action for Associations in Australia. So thank you, Helen and Gail, and thank you everyone on the call today. Final remark is, please join CAFA. I think we've got a slide with a QR code. We are a free membership to support membership organisations, professional bodies and trade associations, with information, guidance, resources, and a really strong peer-to-peer network to learn and share with one another. The first Australian CAFA meetup, even though there may only be a few of you, we're still going to do it anyway, is on November the 27th at 4 p.m. And Helen and Gail will be present, as will some of the CAFA team as well. And we also have a technical drop-in already scheduled, which is talking more about Scope 3, 1, 2, and 3 emissions, carbon footprinting, and all the technical sustainability aspects and elements that you might be facing as a membership organisation. So to take part in those and access our resources and guidance and support, please join CAFA. And the way to do that is scan the code, and you'll have a personalised onboarding meeting that will take you through the journey and signpost loads of resources that will be most beneficial to you. I just talked rapid fire then. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you everybody once again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you everyone for joining. Wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.